Is the sound working? Yeah, but that's because I'm in Norway with Aurora Borealis. Hi, hello, and welcome back to another reading skills workout. And why I'm a little amused is because I thought I was live for the last 5 minutes and I was talking, and then I figured out that I wasn't live. Now I am. So, how is it going? What's up? And I hope you know what the agenda is. The agenda uh, is to work with more reading ideas. In fact, the same reading ideas as usual. And by now, these should be at your fingertips, part of your thinking process, deeply imprinted. Hopefully, if I have done my job, at least for some of you, those who have caught everything. And by now, it should be providing speed as well as result, hopefully a little bit of confidence might be required, right? Because I know for sure with maths that even after people figure out the formulas and the logic and everything, it still takes them a little bit of time to really start executing it. So that might be a little bit of a thing. So, what are the reading ideas before I jump into the passage and start applying them? What are the reading ideas according to you guys? Yes, I'm also very excited about the background. Skiing in Norway. Maverick says general, specific, pronouns, tracking, conjunctions, and mapping. Karan says general, specific, not reading in the traditional linear method. And I hope why also. Why shouldn't we read in that traditional linear method, right? Jugal says great background. Sridham says preview, yes, conjunctions, pronoun questioning, anticipation, etc., and general specific. Jugal says great background. So if you have a great background, RC will be better. See the pronoun, ask a question. Right. So these are the people who have been following the journey for a bit. So let me now move towards the screen thingy. Right, so let's apply it here. And I have an interesting experiment for you. This is from another cat passage that, I mean, we can discuss it fully. But first of all, just look at the screen and can you tell me the main idea for these two paragraphs? And of course, when I say that, can you tell me? I'm saying only read the highlighted part and try and make sense from it. Because as usual, my forever point is that we do not need to read every single line to get to the right answer. If there is a question, I will approach that area. But otherwise, first, can I get the broad idea going? And this is at the heart of our reading skills, idea plus elaboration. There's always an idea which then is elaborated further, detailed out, extrapolated, elucidated, etc., etc. And all of that can be compressed if I grab the idea first. Maverick says effect of state of culture on artist, main idea. Kashish says the influence of culture on the artist creativity. Uh, Now, I mean, you're almost there, but read it one more time and only what is available. When a culture is secure and certain, I mean, this is an important part of its value. It presents, who presents? The culture presents its artist with subjects, right? When a culture is in a state of disintegration, so can I see the contrast between these words, secure and certain, and state of disintegration or transition? So can you paraphrase it in your own words? When a culture is this versus when a culture is that, right? And the freedom to do what? Freedom to pick up a subject. An artist picks up a subject, whether he makes a tree, I mean, draws out a tree or an elephant or something in abstract. That is a subject of the artist, right? So I'm assuming that when I say the artist subject, you will not be worried about this word at least, right? So again, now what I want you to do is I've already got the main idea here, right? That when the culture is secure, the artist is presented with the subject. The culture will define the subject, and this when a culture is in a state of disintegration or transition, the freedom of the artist increases. Freedom to do what? Freedom to choose a subject. If I want to correlate, right? Are we all together so far? Correct. When a culture is stable versus when a culture is in a state of chaos or transition, etc. And and the other part that when it is stable, the culture will tell the artist what to do. When it is unstable, the freedom of the artist increases. Please note, I haven't read any of this information here, nor have I read any of the information here. But do I have a very clear picture of idea of what is going to happen there? That is a minimum level of anticipation that one can uh, work on, right? Idea, elaboration. Yes. So now my contention is that what have I done right now? I have read, not only I, we have hopefully read only two lines. If some of you want to cheat a little, you can dive into this part of the story as well. A little bit of cheating is always allowed. But my contention now is that let's look at the couple of questions and let's see if you guys can get the answer. That's it. So try out this question, question number two. One person has given me an answer, and I know it's a little bit of an experiment right now, and I know that, I mean, you can get confused with the other options as well. In fact, my contention is that the more you read, the more confused will become in such cases. But everybody has given me the answer very correctly, and that answer is option B. Now, the tricky part, how the examiner creates difficulty for you is that all of these options in another form or language will be present in the passage somewhere. So you will look at, oh, the prevalent style of society in his time. I did read it, but I'm not sure about the central idea, and then I might pick it. What is put up in front of his easel is another sentence in the passage somewhere, right? And somebody will get stuck there. But if there is clarity, and the clarity also means you're not deep down in the rabbit hole and gotten confused, you saw only that main clear idea. Are we okay with how? I mean, and I didn't mark the answer, right? At least some of you did on your own, just from two lines. Please try out the third question as well. If you want, I will show you the passage, the screenshot one more time. Take a look at this again comfortably. You can cheat and read a little bit of the details as well. But I hope everybody is done. Back to the question. Waiting for answer for question 3. Maverick, I'll send a hunter drone your way. Very good. I'm very, very happy. Yummy in the tummy. Abhishek Demon says A. Rishabh says A. Maverick says A. Question mark. Saswato says A. Nitin says A. Karan says 1. Sritam says A. Devan says A or C. Okay, let's see in a minute. But Sharat says A. Karan says A. Devan says A or C. Jayan says A. Asta says A. So I hope everybody got it. Let me show you the screenshot again, just in case. When a culture is secure and certain, the culture presents the artist with the subject that this is what you should make. When a culture is insecure, the artist decides what should I make because the culture is himself or itself insecure. Right? Back to the question. Now, the answer is A, simply by crowdsourcing. The more insecure a culture, the greater the freedom of the artist. I just saw that the freedom of the artist increases. So this is definitely correct. Now, why am I getting confused in C? The more secure a culture, the more difficult the choice of subject. Just because the culture is saying I will dictate the choice, does it mean the choice is difficult? In fact, the choice is easy because I don't have to think on my own. The culture is telling me what to do, right? And I hope you realize that even if there is a confusion between this option A and C, reading the rest of the details, would it make a difference in your approach or logic or how you perceive this question? Say yes if you understand the idea that this is where I can reduce my mental load. I will not be overburdened by information. My ideas will be fresh and clear when I look at the questions, and I know the story of context of ideas that, oh, this sentence wasn't part of this story, it was part of another story, therefore can't be the answer. So right, so and I know, so you have, what you have to do is you have to kind of really now take a pause and understand that we looked at what, two sentences, and I've got two questions already going for me, right? And how could I have found those sentences? By preview itself, those sentences would have uh, caught my attention. Why? Because this is such a clear contrast. And let's say I'm reading this. When a culture is certain and secure, when a culture is in a state of disintegration, so this will jump out at me in my previews itself, right? That there are these two big boxes of the ideas. And this is my visualization of the same thing. Now, just for fun, uh, now just for funsies in the onesies, let's read what's there and consolidate our training that yes, this is not fluff, verbal god nonsense. These are facts of life, right? Let's see. And now this is also interesting now. Okay, okay. Let me think about how the artist thinks, right? So now we are not thinking cat anymore. I hope that big idea was very, very clear. You can read a little to grab a lot and learn to use that DILR approach for us. See that read according to the need. Wow, I should quote this. Read for need, right? But for value and entertainment sake, let's do this also. So when the culture is secure, now the idea, remember I've repeated only that one sentence thrice. It is better to grab that one idea clearly rather than just go here to there. So the general agreement about what is significant is so well established that the significance of a particular subject accrues and become traditional. So subject what? The subject that the artist is going to choose. This is true. Now, for instance, this is your conjunction driven reading. The moment I see, for instance, I know examples are going to be given. So he has just told me that in a stable culture, subject accrues and become traditional, that what is important becomes traditional. This is true of reeds and water in China. What is this? What is this? This is an example to make a point that how the subject accrues and become traditional. So even at a paragraph level, zoomed in, that idea plus elaboration game is happening. And this reeds in China is an example. Of the nude body haw in Renaissance is also an example. Of the animal in Africa is an example. Furthermore, the story is going to continue. In such cultures, in which cultures, in stable cultures, the artist is unlikely to be a free agent. He will be employed for the sake of particular subjects, and the problem, as we have just described, it will not occur to him because the society is giving him the subject, right? So now, let's say if you read this much in detail, even this part will become clearer to you, right? Because now you know the logic, the stability, subject becomes important because the culture is saying animal is important, water and reed is important, nudity is important. The culture will decide yes or no. Let me open up this paragraph as well, though I think you can read even without me opening up. So you guys do that while I replace batteries. Are we okay with the game? Now, since that idea is already clear to me, okay, at least at this level, now I can go into the passage and play the same game over and over again, right? Let's do that. The whole passage. And we have also learned that we can actually start from anywhere, right? So let's start from anywhere. I raise the matter now because I want to draw attention to the fact that the painter's choice of subject is far more complicated. If nothing else, painter's choice of subject, because I've already seen that idea repeat a couple of times, is a far more complicated question than it would first seem. So, what is he going to do now? He is now going to explain why it is a complicated choice. So, I will do the same thing. I will box it out and move on. Next line, it is next, not even next line, next paragraph. It is often said today that subject matter is unimportant, but If I read this much, what is he going to tell me? How the subject matter is very, very important. But this is only a reaction against the excessively blah blah blah. In truth, the subject is literally the beginning and the end. So can you see? Can I quickly map this paragraph? What is this paragraph about? This paragraph is about. I hope you're thinking on your own also, not just what is this paragraph about. If I ask you to make a map, like put a tag next to it, what is this about? Very good, Maverick. Importance of subject matter. And again, the thing is, I do not want to get into the details because sometimes, I mean, you think the details are important. I think the details are currently detrimental to most of you, especially if the main idea is missing. So that's why I want to keep the session off and I want to keep it light and fast as well. Otherwise, every line kind of becomes slightly boring. So now I'm going to the next paragraph. Thus, for painting to succeed, okay. So what do you think is going to happen in this paragraph? He's going to tell me the factors for why the painting succeeds, or his opinion of it. Am I still on? Check one, two. Hello. Am I on right now? Complete my sentence. Okay, thank you. I think I'm on. So, or I forgot to connect one wire, which led to. Okay, so thus for a painting to succeed, I know in this rest of the paragraph, this idea will be elaborated, and I hope by now the idea is clear that I will not go into the detail to explain the process again. When our culture is certain, we read this. When our culture is uncertain, we read this. By the end of the 19th century, so great, I have finished the passage and I see it is about the painter's choice of subject, and the choice is very important. How will the painter succeed? And keeping that choice of subject in mind, most likely. And I'm good to go towards the questions, right? Because let me see what the question is and read for need. So question number one, in the sentence, I believe there is a connection. Second paragraph, what two developments is the author referring to, right? So it clearly tells me, this question tells me, go to the second paragraph. So I will do that and I will let you come to the answer. Is there a connection between these two developments? So ask yourself, which two developments? Has art gone abstract because the artist is embarrassed by his freedom? Can I see the two developments? Let me put some color. Has art gone abstract? Would be one idea. And by because of the freedom is another idea. Yes. So now I will take you back to the question and see if you can get to the answer from just that much. And this is called scanning, right? Looking for specific pieces of information according to need. It is much easier than just reading everything. So in the sentence, I believe there is a connection. What two developments is the author referring to? Waiting for answers, guys. Sritam says C, Sharat says C, Nitin says C, Rishabh says C, Maverick says C, Jayant says C, C. I also say C for yourself. Yes, no. So my final answer, not my answer, majority crowdsourced answer is option C. And I hope what you realize is that again, if you look at the passage, the bulk of it I haven't yet read. I read that okay, it's important. I read that it is important. I read about something about why the painting will succeed. But for this particular question, what I needed was very specific, targeted reading of a particular area. And if there was not a question, even that area would be pointless for me. So I hope the idea is hitting home that the game is not to read everything. In the beginning, first 50 passages, read everything to build your own comfort. But if while reading you can read critically and observe that these are the patterns of information that play out, a lot can happen then in 10 days. Right? Is the game clear now? Right? And I know some of you are very, very regular, so I know for definitely for them it's working. I'm mostly worried about any new one. Okay, great. Let's try the next question. And which of the following is not necessarily among the attributes needed for a painter to succeed? I haven't read about the attributes required for a painter to succeed, but have I seen it somewhere? Something to do with success. I'm asking you guys. For a painter to succeed, have I seen something to do with success of painters? Not last para, somewhere in the, yeah, somewhere in the middle. Thus, for a painting to succeed, so now what I will do is I will let you read it. I will not even read it for you, but I would like you to read it in detail, right? Because now I know there is a mark count, I mean, dependent on my reading this. So please read this and then I will let you try out the question. So this is called mapping, and then scanning and whatever targeted reading based on your question information. So for a painting to succeed, it is essential that the painter and his public agree about what is significant. The subject may have personal meaning for the painter or individual spectator, may have, but there must also be the possibility of their agreement on its general meaning. Okay. It is at this point that the culture of the society and period in question precedes the artist and his art. So the culture and society and the period in question precedes the art. Renaissance art. Now I am going into example territory again. Renaissance art would have meant nothing to the Aztecs and vice versa. So if I did not understand this vague theory, this is a good example that the art from Renaissance will not make sense to the Aztecs. Aztecs are the Aboriginal people of Southern America, right? Southern Latin America. So, if to some extent a few intellectuals can appreciate them both today, them both Renaissance as well as Aztec, now as a modern day human being, we can appreciate both because both those cultures and history now belong to us. It is because their culture is an historical one, its inspiration is history, and therefore it can include within itself, in principle, if not if not in every particular, all known developments to date. The sentence might be going long, so slow down. It is explaining why, to some people, the art from Aztecs as well as the Renaissance would make sense, right? And he's saying for some intellectuals, why? Because both those histories have now become part of your school day history, right? Renaissance happened, you know about the Aztecs, so now you can maybe appreciate both those kind of arts. So that's all this sentence is saying. Are we okay with what happened here? Yes, Aztec Gold. There is also this movie called Apocalypso. Very nice. Watch it. Go away, cat. So let's try out the question now and let's see what happens. I definitely read this. The painter and his public agree on what is significant. And the question is not. So that means this can't be my answer. Correct. The subject has personal meaning for the painter. Sorry for jumping the gun here. But if I go back and check that paragraph, it said the painting may have personal meaning. Subject may have personal meaning. That means this personal meaning may or may not be the important factor. The shared meaning was much more important. So if I remembered that much and if I scanned it again, I will know that the personal meaning is not necessary. Though I do think the question is tricky because the painting of subjects is inspired by historical developments. It's there in the paragraph, but is not stated like very clearly. You have to kind of interpret that yes, history is an important part of culture and tradition, and therefore the history part will also be a feature. So I think it was a little tricky because uh, this might have thrown you off, but it's simpler when you have that clarity going for you, that clarity flow. Then this will be easier to reject, right, as or to choose as an answer because this is definitely wrong, right? Are we okay with what happened here? Maverick is saying okay to what? Yeah, I know, that's why Maverick, I'm addressing the issue. So and again, it's so, I mean, it's so tricky right now. I don't want to, I mean, sometimes I avoid even that discussion. The painting of subjects is inspired by historical development. Some people will say, yes, 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 historical was here. Sorry, where did that paragraph go? A painting to succeed, right? And they will say somewhere because of its inspiration is history, and they will say, okay, the answer is, I mean, history is mentioned here, but here history is mentioned in a different context of how a few intellectuals can understand two different arts, right? So this you have to understand was a separate bracket altogether. Now the history part would come here. It is at this point that the culture of society and period in question, culture and period in question makes up history essentially. So otherwise is also okay too. So I think we're done. Let's try one more question. You're looking at not be true in the context of the passage. Okay, so now to fact check some of these things, you might have to go back and run through the whole passage one more time. But remember, your that kind of reading is very very different. So let's say this I did not read anywhere. The choice of subject was a source of scandals in the 19th century European art. So let me see, was it there somewhere? When a culture is secure, Renaissance, the disintegration, art scandal. See, finding a word is very, very easy. So I was looking for scandal and I see it is too often forgotten how many of the art scandals of the time were provoked by the choice of the subject. So art scandal, the choice of subject was a source of, yes, this is also true according to the passage. This is a little bit of a inference thing. Painters of reeds and water in China faced no serious problem of choosing a subject. So think back, China example, reed and paint water example was given in a stable society. In a stable society, the culture presents the choice of subject. So no problem in choosing a subject. So even this is true according to the passage. Agreement on the general meaning of a painting is influenced by culture and historical context. I just saw, and therefore my answer should be A. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, so a recap, especially in the beginning, that I saw we read a total of two sentences. We did not read anything else. And I think 95, 99% of us were able to answer those two questions by just reading this much. Yes, this is a little bit of a guided reading. I'm already putting you in that state of observing, but this is that state that you have to bring yourself into constantly if you want to basically conquer this section very, very easily. Assuming you're a cosmopolitan, metropolitan, urban citizen who has been investing in language, reading, watching TV shows, etc., this arrangement can be done fairly, fairly quickly. Nobody gave me an answer for the last one. Is everyone okay with this answer? Option A. So this is cat 04 dash, what the number is there? So if you look for it later on the course page, you can find it under CW Cat Workshop 04 02. It'll be there in an hour or so. So there is another one. I'm not doing it right now. I'm just saying this is another one. This is CAT 04-5. Maybe try it out overnight. And again, this will feel like a dense, difficult text, but you know what to do. Try and minimize your reading in your first go, get the idea, and then move to the rest of the journey. I will start with one hint only, uh, and this is what we mean by active reading. Right? So this is I mean, I know, I mean, compared to a few sessions that we did earlier where we went very, very fast, this is a denser text. And what will happen is, if you read it linearly, you will get stuck in these details and you will lose track of everything that is happening. So if the text is denser, it is even more important for you to maintain a little distance from it, right? And how I read any such information, or how I simplify it is this. So, and this is a very big first paragraph. But let's say if I read the second paragraph, the new mercantilism, and even notice here, I have eliminated part of the story because I want to do that subject verb, keep the sentence also small for me when needed. So, the new mercantilism faces similar problem, because I'm telling you, people will get stuck in this part itself. They'll be like, what's going on, right? But learn to match the subject with the verb. The new mercantilism faces similar problems of internal and external division. Can you tell me about the problems of new imperialism now? I rest my case. I read the second paragraph and I saw faces similar problems of internal and external division. Can you tell me about the problems of new imperialism, which is there in the previous paragraph? Right? Same thing. So I know if I can grab this passage, like the second paragraph, I can understand the first paragraph as well. The center is troubled, and even that is now explained. Excluded groups revolt, and even some of the affluent are dissatisfied with the roles. Easy enough to understand, not too much of a challenge, especially now that I have a context. Nationalistic rivalry between major capitalist countries remain an important divisive factor. Finally, there is a threat presented by the middle class and the excluded groups of the underdeveloped countries. So whatever I am reading here is going to be the same in the previous paragraph. In fact, I don't want to tell you too much. I would like you to try out the passage by yourself, and then maybe the appreciation for the technique will be even more, right? But the idea again is very, very clear. I read a little, and because the mirror copy is happening up there, whatever I understand here will also help me understand whatever is happening there, and then what is happening in the rest of the passage as well. So I don't want to go too much into it, and I will stop the share. Okay, so that's it. for this session. See you tomorrow with the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And I'm talking to members right now. And if you haven't mastered this yet, please start with the beginning of the RC plus CR playlist and go through everything. If you're a course member and you're still struggling, please prioritize the RC plus CR section in the course. It has the fastest dividends and return on investment, especially in this last 1 month kind of a scenario. Let's have a session on newspaper reading as well. Yeah, more soon. I've been suffering from technology, my battle with technology, and then a little bit of too much happening. So I will get back to more allied activities soon. But I hope today made sense. Where does speed come from? A little bit of common sense, a little bit of knowing the structure. Uh, Try out the basic activity over and over again, and you'll be able to master it in no time as well. And it doesn't matter if you're mastering it or not. What matters is that are you finding 5 examples of this now by yourself? Idea elaboration, conjunction, compressing the information, mapping it out, etc. So the skill has, I mean, you have understood it, but now you have to master it. So that would be the second stage. Right, so that's it. My name is Ankur Suryavanshi, and this is Grok. I will